Hey, this is Victor Stabin, and this is the Victor Stabin Project podcast. And someday I'll know where I am and what I'm doing. And if I have a podcast, one of your neighbors probably has one too.
No, your dog Parker might have a podcast soon.
He hit his head too hard on the bottom of the table.
He was thinking really, solidly.
Hey, Parky. Hello.
I don't think he wants to speak.
He doesn't speak, but he does breathe.
You just got back from vacation.
Yeah, I went away for
40 hours.
46 hours.
46 now.
6 hours of it was driving.
Okay.
And
where did you head out to?
I don't know. It was somewhere in New Jersey near the Jersey Shore.
I can tell that you totally planned this vacation.
They told me where to go. I showed up in the middle of the night.
Right.
And it's near Toms River, New Jersey.
Yeah.
So Joan told me to meet her at the beach, which was 20 minutes out of my way. So I was driving a lot, and I was very excited to get where I was supposed to go.
Of course.
And then all of a sudden, she goes, well, meet us at the beach. So it's another 20 minutes. So it's all right, not 3 hours. 3 hours and 20 minutes. So then I get there, and as soon as I get there, sun's setting, everybody says to me,
everyone's getting out of the water.
Let's go. We got to go back home now.
Hey, Dad, time to go.
So they gave me, I went to the beach. I looked at the ocean, saw the sunset, which was beautiful. Got back in the car.
Okay.
And went back to the house that she rented. And I just thought, what am I doing here? This is just a little house that's kind of cramped. At night, I woke up in the morning, which I hopefully do every morning. And it had a deck that led to a canal system where people had slips for their boats, and there was geese there.
Okay.
So, no, not geese, swans.
Swans.
Yeah, so I met Greg, who was a swan, and I fed Greg bread. It was very comforting to just sort of hang out and have the swan look at me and
feed
him.
The swan.
And it sort of had to do with the same feeling I got after having a dog for a while. It's I have this thing about all species are created equal, and all of a sudden you're connecting with other animals. And I connected with the swan the same way I connected with my dog. He wanted to get fed. He was very nice. He came up, he ate out of my hand. And
I wonder if that swan is just doing that, because it's a rental.
He's going up and down the block.
He's just these suckers are here. It's the weekend.
It's for me, baby.
Time to party. Time to party. Where my bread at? Who got my bread today? You got my bread?
So I'm feeding him bread. Then the girls are getting a little jealous, so Skylar starts feeding him spinach.
You got pimped out.
He doesn't want
by
to have
a swan.
That's okay though. You get it,
You could frame it as this beautiful moment, this oneness.
Do you know what sex is?
With all species.
You know what sex is?
Huh?
Do you know what sex is?
Yeah.
What is it?
Are we talking about biological sex?
No, sex.
Are we talking about
sexy time?
Yeah.
You know what sexy time?
Yeah.
Sex is what you get when you get it. Okay.
Okay.
I got pimped out by a swan.
And I got
Getting pimped out by a swan is what you get when you get it, and you're getting it from the swan, and you're feeding the swan bread.
Right.
All right. So, yeah, I don't feel bad.
How much time did you spend there?
Where, with the swan?
With Greg, the swan.
I was with Greg for about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It was quality.
You made a mark on your weekend.
I loved him. It was highlight. And then I read a book. I started reading a book, which I haven't done in a year.
What did you start reading?
It's called The Professor and the Madman, and it's a story about...
Was this a recommendation?
Oh, this is a book that was bought for me by somebody that I didn't crack for 6 months, and then somebody came... Parker, you're supposed to be dead. Be quiet. Thank you. So somebody got me the book, and I didn't crack it for about 6 months. And somebody came in, saw the gallery, and said, "You've got to read The Professor and the Madman." So I started to. So I immediately said, "Oh, I got the book right here." So it was on my table.
Right.
So I brought it with me. I started reading it. I absolutely loved it.
Okay.
I didn't read the whole thing. I just read
You got through a vacation amount.
I got through the first 50 pages. Anyway, the first page talks about the making of the Oxford English Dictionary. The madman is named Dr. Minor, and he was actually he's in the United Kingdom now. He's in England, but he was a military surgeon in in the United States, probably in the Civil War, because this is taking place. His debut in England as a madman started in 1872.
Yeah.
So anyway, years later, he gets visited by a Dr. Murray, who is the guy who's making the Oxford English Dictionary. And so Murray comes to the door, sees a man, and says, "Dr. Miner, I've waited so long to meet you." And the attendant says, "I'm not Dr. Miner. Dr. Miner is an inmate here."
Yeah.
And he's an inmate. Yeah, Dr. Miner is here for life. He's paranoid schizophrenic, and he's here because he kills people.
How many did he kill?
He killed one person.
Oh, he killed
that we know of.
Only got one.
That we know of.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, the book. One of the things that's happening in the book is they're talking about. There's a news article in one of the British papers talking about how gun crazy America is in 1872.
Right.
Right. So.
Yeah.
So nothing's changed.
No.
It's really funny. So he went to the United Kingdom with a pistol, and nobody there had guns. That country was not born on the gun.
Right.
And so gun manufacturing wasn't a part of their culture.
Right.
And it also reminds me of a really funny story. And I'll tell you the story, and maybe this will stick in the blog or the vlog or the podcast. We're doing a podcast, folks, at the Victor Stabin Project channel on YouTube.
All of that.
All of that.
Wrong.
Where am I? The Victor Stabin Project, YouTube.
Victor Stabin Project is the show.
Yeah.
All of your channels are on different platforms, but they're all just called Victor
So it's
Stabin.
the Victor Stabin Project on YouTube.
It's Victor Stabin Project podcast, but it goes a lot of different places.
Okay, so
yeah.
Wherever you're watching it or listening. So anyway, about 6 or 7 years ago, we were hosting 4 soccer coaches from the UK.
Who's we?
Joan and I.
Okay.
In the loft upstairs.
At
268 West Broadway, where the Stabin Museum is.
Okay.
In Jim Thorpe. And they were like living there for free for a week because they were giving lessons to our kids, and our kids were in a soccer camp.
All right.
So we were able to graciously set them up with a place because we had a lot of space.
Yeah, of course.
Uh-oh, the dog is back. So anyway, we're sitting down. I asked them, "What do you think of the United States?" And they said, "It's crazy how many guns you have here."
Yeah.
And I said, "What do you mean?" And they said, "Well, we were in Walmart, and you could just buy a gun." And I said, "Well,
yeah.
Whose fault is that?" And they said, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "It's your fault."
Yeah.
And they go, "What are you talking about?" I said,
Right.
"Well, we had this little war called the Revolutionary War."
Right.
And so we had a militia of civilians that were armed to the teeth.
Yeah.
And when you guys came over here to say, "We still own you,"
good luck.
It didn't happen because
right.
we were armed.
Yeah.
So our country was born on the gun.
Yeah.
And what did they say to me?
What'd they say?
"What's the Revolutionary War?"
Ooh.
And I said, "What?" And they said, "There was a war between England and the United States." They said, "Yeah, it started in 1776.
How did they not know that?
They don't teach that in school in England.
Really?
Because
King
George was mad. The United States
They have a much longer history, though.
Yeah.
Too. I mean, you talk about England. You know.
Well, maybe it's just a blip on their,
it's a little tiny little, if you think about it.
It's a blip on their lens, whatever that expression means. But they're not talking about how they lost us to a 5-year battle.
Right.
They're just not talking about it.
Yeah.
We left, so we were far away, so that's what happened.
Right.
So it was really funny. So anyway, gun crazed. This guy who got arrested and was living in a sanatorium in England was one of the biggest contributors to the OED. And the thing that was great, the OED is the Oxford English Dictionary. Mm-hmm. And what I liked about the book, which is really funny, the second I opened the book, I had to kick myself because if I had opened the book the day I got it, the first thing it has is a dictionary definition, the way it would appear in the dictionary, because it is a book about the OED.
Right.
And that's what I do in my book.
Yeah.
Doodle, right?
It's very...
it's the same thing. I have
Yeah.
dictionary definitions all over the place. And then, if you flip through the book, in a real charming way, they have these pen drawings that look like engravings.
I love those. That style.
And it could be from the 1800s, or it could be they found
someone who's kind of remaking
somebody
that.
who just copied that style.
Yeah.
And so it's an illustrated book with dictionary definitions in it, and it's called The Professor and the Madman. I'm reading it, and it's just kind of fascinating. And there's a lot of words in there I don't know, so I'm making a list of all the words I don't know.
It's one of those
that I won't be able to use unless I describe them as I go along.
No,
but it's kind of fun, and it was relaxing to do, and I forgot what it was like to read a book because I'm so overwhelmed with tasks.
Yeah.
So that was vacation, and
you just got back. Right before
I went there.
Started recording.
I talked to a Swan. I read a book. I did about 30 minutes of painting that is going to be applied to the animation.
Okay.
And I went to sleep the second night. Had a fitful sleep because I have some sort of cold again, and woke up, cleaned the house, and drove back.
And of course, you were still working while you were gone because it sounds like
Ben's
calling you.
You're calling me.
I'm calling you with ad copy to look at.
Yeah, but
it
wasn't as intense as being here.
Right.
I really have to go away, and I came back. And I have this chest cold that my whole family had that they gave me. And I don't want to be doing this podcast. And then after this, you want me to do a vlog. So I got to fix myself up and be even better. It's just back to the pounding the pavement.
That's the grind. You got to do it.
Yeah.
There's no choice. It's you can lay down and do nothing. But if
you miss one time slot, the whole thing could just collapse like a house of cards.
Well, it does.
Oh my God. I don't want that to happen.
But it's the way that we do stuff is we're doing now, we record everything on one day, and then it gets prepped for the next week.
And the only empathy that you could come up with was drink a cup of coffee.
I would have offered you a Red Bull, but
I
didn't know you'd be tired. I thought you were... Here's what I'm imagining.
I came back refreshed.
I imagine you just sitting there, out on a dock somewhere, feeding Greg, who I saw, Joan sent me the picture of you feeding this. She's like, propaganda! Hands in the air, kind of waving. She texted it like that.
Right.
I could... And so I'm imagining, you're just out there, there's jumping in the water, relaxing, kicking back, probably drinking.
No, I stopped drinking.
None of that. You were doing none of that.
It was okay. It was okay not to be here.
Right.
And I didn't really get to take in whatever the Jersey Shore is or isn't.
Yeah.
But I was on a boardwalk, and boardwalks, I don't know if they're my thing.
I would have. I like the view of the ocean. That's the big thing.
Yeah, I love the view of the ocean.
There's nothing. There's nothing like that.
The cacophony of sound coming out of a boardwalk every 20 yards is another stereo system selling greasy food.
Oh yeah.
And
smell the vinegar for those fries.
Whatever it is.
Whatever.
It's just one bad song after another with glaring lights that are blinking at you.
Uh-huh.
And so I got to see the ocean through the haze of that.
Of pseudo Jersey style Tokyo, Japan. That's what's going on now.
I don't know what you call it. It's just... I would go to a place where there was more nothing than something.
More nothing than something.
Yeah, more nothing.
Are you talking about Jim Thorpe?
I'm talking about outer space. I want to go into outer space. There's more nothing than something.
Going to Mars. Going on vacation on Mars next time. Heard it here first.
So anyway, I didn't lose my wife. She went out kayaking.
Yes.
And behind the...
Okay,
so we woke up, and so I get to see this nice patio. It's not really a yard, but it's some sort of land extension of the house that's maybe 30 by 40 feet. Who knows if it's that big. And there's this little system of canals. Everybody has a boat slip. Joan goes kayaking at 6 o'clock.
Yep.
She wants me to go with her. I don't want to go. I just took a shower. I just wanted to do some paintings. And I didn't want to get the dirty canal water on me.
That's what you were thinking of.
As you stick your hand in the water, you can just see how brown it is. And
well, it's nature.
No, it wasn't nature brown. It was like man-made canal.
Is that
Everybody's got a
color?
motorboat brown.
What number in the Pantone book is Nature Brown?
I don't know. Nature Brown is something that you might find.
Somebody out there knows. Please tell us.
An attractive moment. Anyway.
So you weren't getting it.
She wanted me to go. I put my foot in. She wanted me to go kayaking. The kayak slipped out from underneath me. Half my body fell into water. I said, it just hit my elbow.
I'm half Nature Brown. I'm bleeding.
I'm full of this crappy water. All I want to do is paint. Stop badgering me. So she leaves on her own.
Right.
Sun's going down. It's 2 hours later. She's not coming back.
You're worried.
I didn't even know I loved her. She's my wife, okay?
But you didn't realize how much until that moment?
No, she's disappeared. I'm going, I have to find her. I love her. So I start walking around this community, which is built in such a way where there's mazes of canals that like get to go in people's backyards. Everybody's got a backyard
with a canal.
With a canal, yeah. Okay. So it's like a system of like fish bones, like that stick into the water with little canals. And there's like L's and corners, and you don't really know where you are because you're sort of walking on the street going, well, what does that lead to?
You got to like grow up there to know that.
So I got in my car and I started, I started driving around, and I found one canal that was huge. I said, oh, well, this must lead to the bay, but she's not there. Yeah. And then I went to another canal. But every time you get out of the car, you got to walk into somebody's backyard, right?
So you're just driving around.
Just driving around, going into people's backyards. No, I'm going into people's backyards. Everybody's got intruder alert lights that are going on now because the sun's going.
The only thing that would have made this better is if you would have taken Greg the Swan with you.
No,
and you're just walking around.
I'm
looking for my wife.
My relationship didn't get to that level. He didn't let me pick him up yet.
Oh, man.
Feed him. And maybe I could have grabbed him by the neck while I was feeding him. That wasn't what I wanted. So anyway, come here, Craig. I need you. So I'm walking through, I'm trespassing. It happens to be Tuesday night. It was yesterday, right? It's Tuesday night. A lot of people are weekenders. So I'm looking for people's homes who hopefully aren't there.
Hopefully aren't there. Most likely are not there.
I'm walking on their property, in their backyard, on their decks. Mm-hmm. Everybody's got a picture window of their deck. So if I walk on their deck, it's their home. It's like, who's the big guy?
Who's the guy on the deck?
So I'm walking around. I didn't really meet anybody. And I didn't see Joan. And the police didn't show up looking for me, asking me, what are you... The best,
probably normal.
The best thing...
That's what it is.
I don't know.
It's gotta be.
I don't know. The only thing I had going for me was I was pulling up with my Mercedes in front of people's homes. And at least I had a nice car to make it look like I'm not your typical vandal, right? Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
You were that self-conscious.
You're walking on everybody's private property. You're a little self-conscious. So, I didn't see her. And then I just thought my best bet is to go back to the point from where she leaves, quarter mile one way, then you make a left, and you go like about a half a mile the other way, and you could actually see this almost 3/4 of a mile stretch.
Okay.
She's got to come back to that.
Yeah.
So it's almost getting dark. And I see her on the stretch before the last turn, but she's turning into the wrong canal.
Oh.
Right? And so I see her, it's very quiet. Nobody else is on the water.
Yeah.
It's like getting dark. Nobody
You're like, there she is.
Water. There she is. And I'm going, Joan, follow my voice. Yeah. Come back, Joan. And she's like, oh, you found me. I was lost. And I said, yes, Joan, I realize I love you. Yeah. And
she's like, what?
I didn't want you to be lost. And in about 15 minutes, I was going to call the cops and go, I don't know where the fuck my wife is. I know she got lost or she's dead somewhere. And I want this to be figured out immediately.
You know, the second you say that to the cop, you know what he's thinking?
What?
This motherfucker's on vacation. And he just killed his fucking wife. You instantly get thrown into that.
I'm wondering how typical that is. People kayak out and then come back
too
late. Oh, and there's so many different turns you can make. Yeah, so
it's got to be.
I found her
all the time,
and she was touched. Yeah.
There you go.
And then we tried to go out to get Mexican food, but every place was closed because it was
Tuesday.
after 9:30.
It's a weekend community.
It was a Tuesday, yeah.
Yeah, it's a weekend community.
Because she had to get lost somewhere in the bay and the canals.
Okay, now you're just saying that you're realizing how much you would have missed her if she would have been missing.
Yeah.
And you're worried.
Yeah.
And then you also threw in that it's also her fault you didn't get Mexican food. Because she showed up and got lost. Is that safe to say?
Well, after that we drove around. Look, I drove around looking for her. Then I drove around looking for a restaurant. Then we came home. And I brought some food with me anyway. So we just cooked it up. But I just thought it would be nice to go out and get a meal.
Yeah.
Just because you're on vacation. But
she had to have been tired.
That didn't happen, and I don't care. I get pretty disappointed when I go out to restaurants.
Yeah.
So unless it's a great restaurant, which is something you're lucky to find.
Uh-huh.
So Cafe Ariel at 268 West Broadway in the Stabin Museum is a terrific restaurant if you're in town. All right.
Hiring new staff. Got a
couple of new people.
New chef coming in, right? We can talk about that.
Not a new chef. Not an old chef going out, but because of the volume, we have somebody else coming
hiring,
in to make everything run smoother.
Yep.
Plus, we got a new bartender who seems really nice.
Yep.
And some kid who's 17 years old who has such an intact sense of manners that it's creeping everybody out because he says, "Excuse me, sir. Pardon me, ma'am." And
it's creeping people out?
It's creeping everybody out.
Where'd you hear this from?
Everybody in the kitchen is going, he's too polite.
They're like,
they have to start getting polite.
What's going on here?
Yeah.
All they got to start doing, and this is not something that's... reflective upon the business, but they gotta act like kitchen people. And just start.
He doesn't know. He doesn't know about that yet.
Okay.
So
doesn't know about the kitchen life.
Anyway,
Then
I drove home today, and here we are.
One cup of coffee later, and we're 25 minutes into a podcast.
Full of
Look at that.
Yeah.
We didn't even get through any of the items on the list, which is fantastic. At a certain point, we're gonna
How was your vacation? Boom.
That's number one.
Yeah, it's number one.
But, so, the thing is, we're getting better at doing this.
Ooh. Is it time to call Matthew?
Yeah, go ahead and call Matthew.
Okay.
All right, so explain a little bit of the backstory here before you start calling him.
What's all your fault?
All right, well, I'm the social media manager for Victor Stabin, co-hosting on his podcast, but I handle listening to his social media channels and looking out for news about him, or if somebody mentions him, or if they come to the museum and take a photo, I want to make sure that kind of we're aware of that and we can communicate with them. Something I found today, as I am just coming into doing this, I found a post back in May where apparently the original Kiss Unmasked paintings, I guess you would call them. Right? Would they be paintings or would they be...
The Kiss Unmasked album cover was a series of 3 paintings.
Yes. That
were long horizontals. And they stacked up into a square, which is what an album cover is. So the horizontals were about... the paintings were about 36 inches long by 12 inches high.
Yep.
So it was like a...
And so they sold... According to a auction house, there was a post on Instagram that the originals had sold for, I think it was $114,000.
Which is nice, because it means I have paintings in the market that have sold for $114,000.
Right.
Which I don't really have.
And so you knew...
Unless anybody wants to buy something for $115,000 right now and make a real impression.
Heard it here first. So you were aware of who the current or last known owner...
Yeah, it's a friend of mine.
Is. So, you were on your way back from vacation. I had called or sent you an email early in the morning. You called me as soon as you were on the road.
I called him while I was driving.
And you called him while you were driving.
The person who bought the painting 15 years ago is now looking into a painting to find out that if he bought a stolen painting, but it was never reported stolen 15 years ago. And all of a sudden, wacky people are crawling out of the woodwork.
Claiming the art world.
Well, I don't know what world it is. It's the Kiss sphere and the planet Kiss, and they're saying that painting was stolen from me 15 years ago. And the person who now has it says, "Did you ever file a police report?
Do you have a record of that?"
It's and they said, "No, I didn't want to get anybody who was in trouble for stealing my painting," which sounds so questionable, right?
Yeah, it sounds a little suspect.
A little spurious.
Yeah.
And suspect. And then all of a sudden, the guy who is saying that the painting was stolen, wants to hook up with the guy who has it now because he's got a buyer in Los Angeles. Everybody lives in Texas right now. But he's got a buyer in Los Angeles who will pay $80,000 for the painting, but they have to take the painting together to this buyer in Los Angeles for a cash deal. It sounds like a Nigerian prince. The guy the guy who's got the Kiss painting lives in Texas, so of course he has firearms. He's telling me if I go do this, of course I'm going to bring my firearms. And I'm basically telling him, look,
please,
you have got the painting.
Yeah.
Right? And if anybody
this is your philosophy on it.
My philosophy is you're dealing with a lot of knuckleheads. Constantly, over the last 40 years, not constantly, intermittently, I get calls from people who try to scam me out of Kiss paraphernalia.
Yeah.
They want me to do a drawing, or they want to buy sketches that I did from the original album cover.
Yep.
They just want something, and they don't.
They're going to the source to try and find something.
They don't want to pay, and they're just so questionable. So I said to the guy, you don't really have to do anything. You bought the painting at a price you can afford. You love the painting. If anybody really buys it and they're serious, they come to you. They give you a check. You put it in the bank.
Yeah.
And when the money's there, you hand them the painting. And that's all there is to it in this world. And then I explained to him that when I was 33 years old, I had to go to a therapist because I was kind of paranoid in that I felt every time the phone rang, somebody wanted to rip me off.
Right.
So
this is back commercial illustration days.
This is back 33 years ago.
Yeah.
And the therapist said to me, I can help you with this. So we sat down and spoke, and after like 6 months, she said to me, well, Victor, because you have a schizophrenic brother and your parents had to dote on him, there was a time in your life where you didn't have parenting, and it's a bitter pill and you feel ripped off. But fast forwarding 30 years, I was completely right. She was completely wrong.
Right.
Every time the phone rings, somebody does want to rip me off. If you're an artist, you are just victim to anybody who wants to wave a dollar bill in front of you.
Oh, yeah.
And they want to get you at a vulnerable point and rip you off. And it happens to everybody.
Well, the funny thing
all the time. I hear more stories about getting ripped off than people being honest with artists. And the best place to be as an artist is to be comfortably secure financially so you could make decisions that are healthy.
Well, you can say no.
You can say no.
You could say so.
Yeah, I could
those
say
are the best.
When the check clears and the money's in the bank, you can have the painting.
I would think that. Well, I mean, it's definitely in your interest if the original continues to exchange hands. Like if it's in circulation.
Yeah. While
you're still alive, that's great.
Well, the first thing I thought when I heard that the painting sold for $114,000 was it's 3 panels. I only signed one of them.
Yeah.
And I wondered if I signed maybe the other 2 on the side or something. But I called the person who owns the painting up. I am friends with him, and because we've known each other for like the last 25 years.
Yes.
He became somebody who actually did show up at my house with cash and bought some sketches from me way back when. And so we got on the phone, we started speaking. Oh, I forgot what my train of thought was.
The first thing that you thought when
the first thing I thought was...
what it sold for.
The first thing not what it sold for. The first thing I thought was there's 3 panels but only 1 signature.
Yes.
So I called him up to ask if my signature was on the other 2 panels, and he said no. And I said, we should do something where you actually pay for me to come to Texas, and we do
and
some
add
sort of
value.
We do some sort of like video vlog party, where it's all about the signing of the painting to give the paintings more value. And he said, well, no, but it wasn't on the original job. I said, my signature is worth something. It's always going to add value to this.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if I do it 40 years later. I signed the damn thing. I came back. It's a story.
And the other
I gave him something to think about.
It's true, and the part of the marketing of that story is it's not that what adds value to the proposition is actually that while you were still alive, you can be used as somebody that verified it's the original and then signed it while you're still alive. Like that is the hook. It's not just that it has the completion of having your signature on each of the works, because there's 3 works, but it's of having you there to have verified that it's the original, the real original, which would be different than any forges because it would be more of an obscure fact.
Like that would be another added thing that would keep that
for sure.
Yeah,
I thought of that too. It's sort of like, you're not going to get better than me showing up and saying, "This is me."
Here you go. Yeah. So you'd thought of that, just kind of adding value to it, and
Well, you want a picture of me standing next to the painting saying this is the real thing. So the first thing I said to him was, well, there was even a question that he got from somebody about, how do we know this is the real painting?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I said to him, if you look at the back of the painting, it should be beige. It's not a white canvas. It's a beige linen.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the stretchers, it might say pearl paint on the stretchers, and they should be double weight stretchers. And if you look at the staples that go into it, they're 1/2 inch thick, and they should be painted over because I painted the outside of the painting.
There you go.
And painted the staples on. And this is all idiosyncratic stuff.
Right. There's probably more of it, to go around. That's
what I sort of like.
There's things that are part of your world that you remember, right?
And not many illustrators did that. Everybody does their own thing. That's the thing that I did. So we'll see what happens with that. It's just really kind of funny. And he got a little paranoid. And then he did something. He said something to me that I thought was just really kind of hysterical. He said something about me doing another version of the painting. And I said,
Don't do.
He goes, "Don't do that." And I don't know who brought it up. And I said, I have no intentions of repainting that.
Good idea.
But, if the painting sold for $115,000 and somebody wanted me to redo it, I said to him, very classically, if a painter has a painting that sells well and somebody else wants to buy it, it is not uncommon in the art world
to have a
two
second.
or three.
Yeah.
So it would be really funny to take an ad out saying, "I will paint this painting over with 40 years more 40 years plus of masterly technique that I didn't have when I was 26."
Right.
Because I'll be 66 next year.
Yeah.
And who will buy it? Let me hear a silent auction. Put the money in the bank, and I'll get to work. It's there's got to be a reserve.
Right.
I don't know what the reserve is. It's got to be at least $60,000.
We'll see. We'll get to the. Hopefully, we'll have an update next week on what's going on with this original.
So my buddy heard me come up with this concept while we were talking, which is something I would never come up in a daydream or a nightmare. I just don't want to do this painting again. And I thought to myself, how goofy. And there's so many little things I'm working on. The last thing in the world that I want to do is to redo any of my paintings.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, there is that thing. Everybody's got their price, right?
Everyone does.
Yeah.
I think the right person comes along.
So now that we made my buddy in Texas vomit, let's move on.
Okay.
All right.
So the Stabin Museum t-shirt we talked about in the last episode.
It's so exciting.
And I got to see the new copies. You got a new copy, which would have been the 3rd edition. Right? You had a preview run of them come in. Right?
There's going to be 3 sets of screens.
Uh-huh.
Okay? So you saw, I think the last thing you might have seen is the 2nd set of screens.
It's the ones we
Every
folded.
time you get a set of screens made, the job kind of starts from the beginning.
Right.
And the screens cost X amount of bucks. But I've got to learn. And there's a curve.
Yeah.
And so I saw the first version and I thought, I got to make it thicker.
Mm-hmm.
Certain lines. I have a white oval with a drawing inside of it of a head, but the head's got a white base. And so the line work that delineates the shapes of the head, everything has got to be a flat color. And it seemed to me no matter what I did, I have a white face with a white background. So inside the oval, I made it gray.
Mm-hmm.
Very exciting. I don't want to make a 4th set of screens. Dina's going to print them up. I'm going to live with them. I think the last version was pretty terrific, but I think the next version will be that much better. And after living with it for the amount of time it takes to sell 144 shirts, I'll see if I want to change it, but I don't. I actually have ideas for it. Why don't you ask me what's your idea?
What is your idea, Victor?
Well, this is the idea. You want to come up with an icon right?
Yes.
And I want the eyeball, that is the circle in the bull's head, to be the icon. And then I want to zoom into the eyeball icon. And as we zoom into it, or actually zoom out of it, you see the whole face. And then you see the logo inside you see the t-shirt design, which is kind of logo-esque, inside an oval with my script writing across it. And then as you zoom out further, the head attaches itself to the actual creature in the book, who has a body. And so you go from an eyeball to a head to a full figure. And it's an animated what? I don't know what to do with it yet. But I think because I have the key artwork already made, it could be a couple of hours work for a seasoned animator.
Right.
So that's what I'm thinking.
Well, that's not hard to animate. When you have anything that's two-dimensional, it doesn't have to be planed on 3D, but you wouldn't have to plane that.
You're planing? You know what that even means?
Yeah.
I know.
It's where you set up a virtual camera that then has a two-dimensional object with parameters for having 3 dimensions. Okay. So you only have an image and you're actually zooming out.
Okay.
You're
planing.
You're not planing.
You're not planing.
Not planing.
Oh, so you don't have to plane.
You don't have to plane.
This is another example of two of us speaking and one of us not understanding what the other is saying.
I just swapped hats. I'm like, instead of advertising jargon, now it's After Effects and Resolve jargon.
Right.
You know?
So anyway, that's an idea I have.
That's
I'm willing to if you think that you could do that in a very simple way.
And we're kind of
see it.
And we're kind of going into that process as soon as you get more room to be able to do that. It's like going through and finding a icon that adds to your brand, and this is something that we're thinking about.
We're thinking about it. I've been thinking about it all my life. I don't know how to create an icon.
Well, it's one of those things that you just keep throwing out there, and eventually you'll get it.
I don't know how to get it.
But it's the chase.
I don't know how to get a tattoo. I couldn't get a tattoo because I'd eventually want to remove it. I'm always changing
Well, here's
things.
the thing. Logos constantly evolve. I mean,
Really?
Yeah.
Really, doctor? Okay, well, we'll see. All right,
They do.
So
yeah.
That's the t-shirt news. Hopefully they'll be here this weekend.
Yeah.
But...
and when they do, we'll have them available for sale on your website.
Okay.
Be able to head to victorstabin.com/shop and pick those up.
Right now we have the first edition t-shirts. We'll have some of the second edition t-shirts because I got 25 of them made, and we'll have the third edition t-shirts.
Get them quick.
Get them quick.
If you want a t-shirt?
Get one of each.
They're going out.
Yeah, well, the reason why I got them made is because I ran out.
They're going out. They're coming in.
Yeah. All right.
So, we talked about the zoning last week. The zoning here. We talked about the entirety of years of zoning hearings. And there was an up-in-the-air question that still has yet to be answered.
I was told that I would get $600 back, and I went to get it because it's been 4 months since I paid the $600.
Yep.
Because I didn't need the zoning. And then I heard some explanation as to how I'm not getting my money back. And then I completely lost it. And I'm glad I didn't get arrested.
And what do you mean by that?
I yelled and used the F word.
Ooh.
And I just felt like, you know what? They just love rattling the cage. And I embarrassed myself. And the problem I have is I don't know if I feel bad.
Well, you've been tortured by this for like a year. Years, you've had this.
No, I've been tortured by this for 12 years. This is like a 12-year process.
It's over a decade.
They like to come back and poke me with a stick inside the cage, right?
Yeah.
And so I let them know if this is going to continue that they might have to wear earplugs. Next topic. I don't want to talk about it.
This week, people are going to be getting on YouTube a new style video. We're trying something new. Doodle Tutorials.
Doodle Tutorials.
How do you feel about that? I mean, because it's
it's not a big deal doing it. I'm not nervous about doing it. I have to perform art while I'm being videoed.
Yeah.
Was that the basis of your question? Because I cut you off. How do I feel about it? Let me tell you.
Well, I mean, look at this, right? It was like there was a big shift when we started putting out YouTube content and just documenting what was going on.
Uh-huh.
That's what we started out with.
Uh-huh.
And, I know just in terms of growing and being able to attract an audience that it always helps to look for not necessarily trends, but mainstays of traffic and insert yourself there. And so even though you dabble with education, you're not necessarily Bob Ross. Like, you don't want to be Bob Ross and just teach 24/7. I think you've expressed that to me, that that's not exactly the place that you want to.
Never in my life have I woken up and said, I want to be Bob Ross.
I want to be Bob Ross.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
Yeah,
so,
okay.
It's according to the research that I've done, that's a direction to head into. Know that you can do it. I know you have products that are associated with education, and to be honest, you have one of the best kind of starters that's involved with a project that you already did that meaningfully impacted your life,
Starters? What are you talking about?
A starter. So you have a Doodle curriculum guide. Yes, the pamphlet, okay. Which has a starter in it.
All right, so how do I feel about this? I got asked by the Allentown Art Museum to go into different schools in my region to be an artist in residence. First place I went, this might be on another podcast.
It probably
I'll make it as brief as possible.
Yeah.
They gave me 26 kids. They said, we're going to make an ABC book. I made a number of ABC books in a number of schools.
Yep.
And the art teachers love it. And they not only love it, but when I'm not there, they give it to the next year's class.
Of course.
And the people at the...
You should be getting paid for that. No, just kidding.
Best of all worlds, these checks are just coming in. And somebody had the foresight at the Allentown Art Museum to ask me to make a brochure that samples the curriculum.
To package it.
So it was packaged. And I packaged it, and it's really funny. It's like, it just made a lot of sense. It tickled my ADD. I went to it, and it was like a legitimate task, and I made something that was, it's only like, I think it's like 20 pages, or maybe 24 pages thin. At the most. And it's terrific. There's a lot of work jam-packed into something that's about 4 inches by 5 inches, maybe a little bit bigger. And it shows the process that I go through when I made the characters in my book.
Yes.
So what you want to do today is have me on the vlog.
Yep. Which would be
actually doing going through the process physically and showing you how it comes about.
Yeah.
And how do I feel about it?
Yeah, how do you feel about it?
I feel so good. I actually know what I'm going to do. I'm going to cheat a little bit.
You're going to cheat?
I'm going to cheat. Yeah.
How are you going to cheat?
Well, I had this encounter with a group of kids that they threw me in a lot of different classrooms. One of the classrooms they threw me in.
You're about to tell me that you're not drawing on the video about drawing?
What?
Are you about to tell me that you're going to talk about drawing instead of draw on the video about drawing?
Say that again so that I can understand.
that's a mystery.
I'm going to tell you about not drawing or drawing.
Well, I think you're going in the direction of the one school that necessarily had like troubled kids or something like that.
The kid who didn't want to draw?
Yes.
I'm not telling you about that.
Oh. Tell me.
There was this one class that I had where it was an after-school class, and they threw me in with like 15 kids who came from broken homes.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, well, that's actually... I'll clear you up on what...
Sure.
We'll go backwards. We'll yo-yo through this. Anyway.
Yo-yo.
So, So, I had this one class where the kids were like... They came from broken homes. Mm-hmm. I told the teacher or the administrator who put me in the room with these kids, I said, I'm not getting anything out of these kids. Uh-huh. And she said, it's better that they're with you after school than they're going home because their parents are using them for ashtrays.
Yeah.
And so...
Were some of them sleeping?
No, they were just sort of like misbehaving and fidgeting and shucking and jiving. So,
yeah.
But I kind of like went through the process over and over again, and they knew I wasn't leaving, and some of them started to trust me. Mm-hmm. And one of the kids, who was not one of the kids who trusted me, he was just sitting there, and I said, you didn't do anything. He goes, yeah, I know every word in the dictionary.
Right.
And I said, really? That's like so funny. You know, every word.
For someone to say that to you.
Yeah. Who knows every word in the dictionary?
Yeah.
So we opened up the dictionary. I said, let's open up the dictionary to the first page. On the first page, we had the word abalone, and then we had the word abattoir.
Right.
Abalone is a shellfish. What's an abattoir? Do you know? I told you last week.
You did tell me. It's it's like a slaughterhouse or a packing.
You got it.
Yeah, there we go.
Anyway, so an abattoir is a
My
slaughterhouse
recall, top level.
or a butcher. A butcher could be called an abattoir.
Yeah.
Maybe an abattoir can also be a building. I'm not quite sure, but it's a place of slaughter. And so he didn't know either word, and both words were in the first column on the first page of the letter A.
Sounds like a good source.
And so from that point, I created, from those first two words that he didn't know, I created one of my best dictionary definitions. Mm-hmm. It's really funny. And so that's what we're going to do today on the vlog. I'm going to pretend I'm finding these words for the first time. Mm-hmm. So you could go back and forth and see how I manipulate my stories. Mm-hmm. Right. There's nothing better than good storytelling. You don't have to tell everything with a chronological truth.
It's true.
You just have to make it work.
It's true.
All right. So, but that said, everything I say is true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there's a kernel of something. Yeah.
So you want to talk about Marshall?
We could talk about Marshall. We could wrap this.
You want to talk about Marshall
we could
because
save.
You want to save Marshall?
We could save Marshall for next time.
The other way to save Marshall is well, I don't know.
We've got. We could probably wrap it up. We've got enough podcast material for this week.
Oh, we do.
Oh yeah, yeah. We went. We're getting much quicker at doing this.
Okay.
So if you want to do a sign out, you could do it this week.
Okay, so right now we just did the Victor Stabin Project podcast.
Correct.
It's on my YouTube channel.
Yes.
It's on numerous social media platforms.
Everywhere you can get podcasts, you'll be able to find us.
You can find it. You can, that's enough information to find us.
That's right.
So you can listen to the same thing 5 or 6 different times at different locations.
You could show it to anybody you want. You could show it to your friends. That's another good idea.
It's funny to show something to your friends that they have to listen to.
Well, you definitely send it to them in email. You definitely don't sit somebody down and go, hey, I want you to listen to this podcast for an hour with me.
Listen to this guy. You could send it to somebody and say, listen to this guy. I think it's a little bit better than it was last week.
It's getting better.
And I think it's getting better every week.
We'll see you then.
Thank you.